Story time about how I hooked up with my stepbrother. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. I repeat, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. My dad and I moved to a new town after he got divorced from my mom. The plan would be that I would split my time with my mom and my dad. Now, with the divorce, I actually got really depressed and it really did affect me. Also, I had just turned 18 at the time and I didn't really want to go to college, so I didn't know what to do with my life. My mom asked me if I wanted to go on a trip to Europe with her and I said yes. So my mom and I traveled for about 2 months. When I got home, I decided to go spend time with my dad for a few months. Well, guess what? He already had a new girlfriend. And of course, this affected me really badly. And my mom too. Her and I were both surprised that he moved on so quickly. His new girlfriend was okay. She was much younger than my mom, but still older than me. But here's the thing, she had 4 kids. She invited me and my dad to come over for dinner so that we could get to know her kids a bit better. Mind you, I had never met them at this point. I had just gotten back from Europe. So I go over to their house for dinner, and as soon as I walk in, I am greeted by the 2 most beautiful guys I have ever seen in my entire life. They were both in their early 20s, and like I said, I was 18. The other 2 kids were teenagers. Throughout the dinner, I couldn't stop staring at both of these guys. I was really trying not to be obvious, but I had just never seen such beautiful guys. It turns out one of them was actually a model and the other one was a bodybuilder. So you can imagine what they might have looked like. Also, throughout the dinner, they kept making eye contact with me. It was almost like they were competing. After dinner, my dad and I went back to his place. This is when my dad asked me what I really thought of his girlfriend. And I told him that I didn't think he should have moved on that quickly, but at the same time, she was actually a good person. She obviously cared about her kids, and they had a pretty good life. That's when my dad told me that he was going to ask her to marry him. They had not been together very long, but I said, okay. Of course, my dad asked me to plan the whole thing with him. He proposed, and of course, she said yes. And this is when it hit me. These 2 really attractive guys were now going to be my stepbrothers. Awkward. This also meant that I started hanging out more and more at their house. My dad and I would go over for dinners, we would all spend the day in the pool, and basically just hang out. And this meant that I started getting to know my stepbrothers a little better. Right away, I could tell that they were starting to flirt with me while we were all together and separately. Of course, I was totally single, so I was like, well, you know, whatever. After dinner one night, my dad asked me if I was interested in one of them. And I was like, no, Dad. He told me that I couldn't stop staring at the guys and that I needed to calm down. Oh my God. I was totally blushing and I told him that nothing was going to happen and not to worry. I decided to put some space between me and the guys. One of them actually decided to reach out on Instagram and ask me why I was being so cold. Obviously, I didn't tell him that my dad told me to stay away from them, so I just pretended like I didn't know what he was talking about. That's when he asked me if I wanted to join him and his friends to go to the movies. I couldn't resist and I said yes. While we were watching the movie, he actually grabbed onto my hand and kissed it. And he kissed me. That's when my stepbrother grabbed my hand and kissed me in the movie theater. I was totally shocked. I knew that he had been flirting with me, but I didn't think that he was going to take it that far as to kiss me. By the way, we were with 2 of his other friends. So these guys knew that I was his stepsister. After the movie, we all went back to his car and they drove me home. We didn't speak for the rest of the night. Obviously, I was already falling in love with him. I mean, he was so cute, so nice, and he liked me. The following day, my dad and I went over to his girlfriend's house, aka the mother of my stepbrother. That's when my stepbrother came up to me and grabbed my hand. I pulled it away as soon as I could because I thought someone had seen us. Luckily, the coast was clear. He took me to his bedroom and we just made out, while the rest of the family is downstairs having food. After about 10 minutes, we decided to go back downstairs. My stepbrother sat next to me and underneath the table, he kept grabbing my knee. I was terrified that someone would see this. I mean, it's almost like he didn't care if we got caught. After that, my dad and I went home. And about 30 minutes after we got home, my stepbrother calls me and tells me that he's out front. I told him there was no way I could let him in and that he should just go home. And before I knew it, he had snuck in through my window. This is when I realized that I needed him to calm down because if we got caught, my dad would get really upset. I told him that he shouldn't have done that and that he needed to go home. That's when he confessed that he was in love with me. I mean, we had known each other for a few months, but we had only kissed twice. He told me from the moment he set his eyes on me, he couldn't stop thinking about me. And he told me that him and his stepbrother actually fought over who would get to date me. I was actually flattered, but also concerned. That's when he told me that we should just date and we shouldn't care what our parents think. At first I said no, but then he kept trying to convince me. Suddenly, my dad knocks on my door and asks me who I'm talking to. As my stepbrother is confessing to me that he's in love with me, my dad knocks on the door. My stomach sank really quick. My dad knocks on the door and asks me who I'm talking to. That's when my stepbrother runs into my closet and just hides. I opened the door and explained to my dad that I was on the phone with a friend. He said okay and just left. But I could tell that he was suspicious. I let my stepbrother out of the closet and told him to leave. That's when he said that he wanted to stay over. Oh my God, I could have just died at that moment. That's when my dad opens the door and catches him. That's when my dad chased him around the house and told him to leave. I was beyond mortified. Oh, and I forgot to mention, my dad and my stepmom were already married. So he calls her and tells her everything that happened. Of course, I denied that he and I did anything, but my dad was not believing me. He told me that while I still lived under his roof, I had to follow his rules. And that meant not dating my stepbrother. The very next day, my stepbrother calls me and asks me to move in with him. He told me that we should get our own apartment and that way we can be happy together. Honestly, I didn't even know what to say because I wasn't in love with him like he said he was in love with me. Of course, this made my dad even more angry. He warned my stepbrother to stay away from me. Obviously, this is causing problems between him and his new wife. And yeah, I feel really bad. Now that I haven't seen my stepbrother in about a week, I'm starting to realize that maybe I am in love with him. Because I can't stop thinking about him and all I want to do is spend time with him and call him. So I'm seriously considering moving in with him, but I'm not sure how this is going to affect my dad or his new marriage. I mean, it's not like we're blood related and I'm already 18. So my dad kind of has to accept this, but he's so stubborn. Now my stepbrother wants me to be his girlfriend and I don't know what to say. I really need some advice. Help.
Story of the client I should have said no to as soon as I saw her book an appointment. Disclaimer, this is not my story time, it was sent to me on Instagram. Before I started doing makeup, I had gotten a job waitressing at a local restaurant. And for those of you who have ever worked in the food service industry, you know just how competitive being a waitress can be. I was a really hard worker and just a few months after me working there, I had been promoted to shift manager. This really made some of the other waitresses mad, especially this one girl who I remembered from high school that I knew of, but I didn't really know her, you know what I mean? And that's where the story time really begins. It's important to note that I was in a relationship at the time I started working at the restaurant. Let's just call my boyfriend Devin. And when I applied to work there, he had told me that one of his exes used to work there and he wasn't really sure if she still did or not. Knowing this before going into the job, I didn't really make it a point to be friends with any of the other waitresses that worked there. Flash forward, I've graduated cosmetology school. Devin and I are still happily together and we just moved into our first 2-bedroom apartment where I had turned the second bedroom into a full makeup room and had started doing clients' makeup out of our home. I was getting about 2 to 3 clients a day on the weekdays and about 5 or 6 on the weekends. This included Fridays. One day as I'm going through my appointment books for the next week, I noticed that one of the girls I had worked with at the restaurant prior to becoming a makeup artist had scheduled an appointment for the coming Friday. I thought that was pretty interesting because like I'd said, I never really made it a point to be friends with anyone I had worked with there, and it never really seemed like any of them liked me very much either. On the day of her appointment, she arrives at my apartment 30 minutes early. I was still working on the client before her, so I just had her wait on the couch in my living room. As soon as I finished up with the client before her, I went into the living room and I greeted her promptly. Instead of saying, "Hi, how are you? How have you been?" the first thing she asked me was, "How long is this going to take? Because I'm in a hurry." Let me just tell you that all of my clients receive a text notification before coming into their appointment. It includes a short waiver that they all must sign before arriving to their appointment, and it also lets them know that a full service of makeup will take about an hour to an hour and a half. So please schedule your appointment accordingly. I reminded her of this, but instead of acknowledging it, she just very quickly changed the subject. As I'm walking her back to the makeup room, she starts looking around and asking me if I live here alone or if there's someone else in the apartment. That's when I told her that I live here with my boyfriend. It was the same guy I dated when I worked at the restaurant, and I asked if she remembered him. She very rudely said, "No, I didn't know you had a boyfriend. I'm surprised you could get one," and then tried to laugh it off like it was just supposed to be a joke. I was really confused why she was talking to me like this, especially since she was the one who scheduled an appointment with me. About halfway through her makeup, she starts getting on her phone, looking down a lot, and I couldn't really get to her face. I usually try to stay out of people's business, but I couldn't help myself and I looked down at her phone screen. The name at the top of the text messages said Devin. Instead of saying anything about it, I just started reading the text messages as I was doing her eyeshadow. That's when I realized that this was the ex my boyfriend had warned me about before I started working at the restaurant. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Not only was this crazy bitch in my apartment, my boyfriend was texting her. As I was finishing up her makeup, I just couldn't help myself but to look down at her phone screen. That's when I realized that this was the ex my boyfriend had warned me about when I worked at the same restaurant as her. And not only that, but she was literally texting my boyfriend right in front of my face as I was doing her makeup. Let me just remind you that I do makeup out of my own home. And me and my boyfriend lived together, so he was literally in the other room. I didn't really know how to react in this situation, but what I had decided to do was just wait until she left and then talk to him about it. More like kick him out, but you know what I mean. I finished up her makeup as fast as I possibly could, because at this point, honestly, I just wanted her out of my apartment and as far away from me as possible. After she paid me and was literally walking out the front door, this girl had the audacity to turn around and say, "What did you say your boyfriend's name was? Maybe I do remember him," thinking that I had absolutely no idea what was going on. Looking back now, I think she may have been texting him in front of me on purpose, like to let me know what was going on. But with the amount of attitude this girl was having, I'm not really sure if she was trying to help me. As soon as she left, I turned around to go talk to Devin. As soon as I reached for the bedroom doorknob, he opened the door from the other side. He was completely dressed and ready to go, and that's when I asked him, where are we going? At this point, I was trying to play it cool, but just hold on a second. He told me that while I was doing my last client's makeup, his friends texted and asked if he wanted to come over and play Xbox. How coincidental that his side piece was literally texting him 10 minutes ago, and now he has somewhere to be. I almost just let him walk out the door and packed up his stuff while he was gone, but to be completely honest, I wouldn't have been satisfied with that. Right before he reached to open the front door, I stopped him and asked him who the hell he was just texting because I saw him texting my last client. His face got completely bright red and his eyes got huge, and I saw for a split second he was thinking about literally just running away from me. I could literally see the wheels turning in his head about what lie he was about to spew, so I came up with a lie first. I told him while I was doing her makeup, I saw all the text messages of him saying I love you, and then I told him that I already asked the girl about it and she confirmed everything. That's when he completely folded. He thought he had been 100% caught in this lie, so he just went ahead and came clean about everything. He told me that he had been seeing this girl on the side ever since I worked with her at the restaurant, and that it was exciting for him to know that he might get caught since we worked together. But after I started doing makeup, he had to find a way to keep it exciting, so he had her call and schedule an appointment with me. I literally couldn't believe what I was hearing because this is the most effed up situation I've ever been in. Before he left to go over to her house, I had him pack up all of his stuff and take it with him. I haven't heard from that girl or Devin ever since that day, and quite honestly, I hope I never do.
This is why you should never date multiple people at once. A story time, I guess. This story takes place when I was 17 or 16. Okay, no one cares. It was a long time ago. And girl, back in the day, I was getting played left, right, and center. Played like a game of football. I had a distinct taste for F-boys. And that was going on for some time until your girl said enough. Enough of this buffoonery. I'm not getting played by men any longer. And I am going to become a player myself. I know the logic is really off, but I was 17, so cut me some slack, okay? So my brilliant idea was, I'm just gonna talk to multiple guys, and I will figure out which one I like in the end. And I'm gonna date that one. Now, in my mind, the plan was flawless. And they do always say, don't put your eggs in one basket. So I end up meeting a couple of guys, and I really like this one guy, but I decide I'm keeping my options open. Already posted part 2, so go watch it. This is why you should never date multiple people at once. Part 2. So I was talking to like 4 guys, and I literally did not like them. But I was determined to keep my options open. I just didn't want another guy to play me. As the time progressed, me and this one guy, the one I really liked, started actually like dating. I mean, we didn't define the relationship, but it looked like a relationship. In my head, you have to like define the relationship. My man's, he's not doing that. I even met his mom. Now, this is where it gets truly embarrassing. So one day I'm getting drinks with one of those other 3 guys, even though I'm basically in love with this guy. And we're sitting in this cafe, having a good old time. And who walks in through the door? The mother of the guy I want to date. I should have saw this coming, but I was dumb. So my heart dropped and she freaking waved at me. Like, I see what you're about. And needless to say, she told him, and me and the one guy I really liked never talked again.
This girl took a picture of me when I was using the bathroom. Story time. So right after we got evacuated, I took my cute self to the stove because your girl needed the essentials, water, deodorant, you know, all that good stuff. While I was looking for all the things I need, I realized your girl has to go boom boom. Just kidding, I just had to pee too. Well, anyways, I was in the bathroom doing my thing, and then randomly someone comes in there and they start busting open all the stall doors. Keep in mind, I was in there by myself, and I was just sitting there doing my business like, okay, what's going on? So this person gets to my stall and they try to bust the door open. But your girl made sure she locked that stall door. Then this person starts shaking the door from the top. Like I'm just sitting here on the toilet and I see someone's hands reach over and try to shake the stall door. I was pretty freaked out, not gonna lie. So I wrapped it up, and as I was buttoning my pants, I see someone's phone come from underneath the stall door. Then I hear the camera noise. This bitch really took a picture of me. Part 2 is about to take a weird turn. This girl took a picture of me when I was using the bathroom. Story time. Part 2. So I'm sitting there a little freaked out because some random person just walks in there and busts open all the doors. Except for mine, of course, because I had that bitch locked and loaded. So I get freaked out and I start buttoning up my pants because I'm not about to get walked in on. Then this girl has the audacity to take a picture of me while I was buttoning my pants. So I did what any sane person would do. I chased that bitch. I waited till she got outside of the store, and then I pulled her by her ponytail. Yeah, I'm a savage. Call me 21. Just kidding, don't. And then she starts freaking out. Oh my god, I didn't mean to. And I looked at her like, girl, what do you mean you didn't mean to take a picture of me? You literally put your phone underneath the stall and took a picture on purpose. Like, what? And then she explained to me that she thought that I was one of her friends. And I was like, so you be taking pictures of your friends in the bathroom? Child, you sus. But honestly, that's none of my business. All I told her after that was, I don't care. Can you please just delete the photo? And she did. And now we're friends.
Nãy anh Tuấn ạ, tôi chọc anh nhét lụng lung tung đấy.